The crowd gasped as if someone had just announced the apocalypse. But no worse. I had just proposed to a stranger. And the bastard said yes. The world tilted for a moment. Flashes from cell phones exploding like fireworks around me. Somewhere, a drunk college kid screamed, "Kiss him!" And I realized my acting career, what little scraps of it I still had, was about to go up in flames or skyrocket into a universe I never asked for. The man standing opposite me, the one I had just dropped on one knee for, wasn't anyone special, or at least, I thought so in that second. He had that relaxed, all-American look. Jeans, sneakers, and the kind of easy grin you'd expect from someone who always wins the last slice of pizza at the table. He should have laughed it off, waved me away, let me crawl back into anonymity. But instead, he smirked, leaned down just enough for the crowd to go feral, and whispered so only I could hear, "Guess you're stuck with me now, babe." And that was how my entire life turned upside down on a Friday night in Times Square. To understand how I got there, you need to know two things. One, I wasn't famous, not yet. I was the type of actor who circled auditions like a desperate hawk, starving, swooping in only to get scraps. My best role so far was man who holds coffee cup in a background shot of a TV drama nobody remembers. Two, I was drunk. Combine those ingredients with a lost bet and a dare from my equally drunk roommate, and suddenly I was down on one knee before a stranger, holding out a plastic ring from a vending machine as though I was auditioning for The Bachelor. Except here's the twist. The stranger played along. For days after, the internet exploded. Clips of the proposal went viral. Twitter crowned us New York's favorite love story. Memes sprouted like mushrooms after rain. Casting directors who never returned my emails suddenly remembered my name. Overnight, I wasn't that guy from the coffee scene. I was the proposal kid. But with that fame came a problem I didn't anticipate. The stranger. His name was Caleb. And Caleb wasn't just some random guy. He was magnetic, unpredictable, the kind of person who seemed born to stand in the middle of chaos and smile through it. Every time I tried to explain to people that it was all a joke, Caleb would wink and wrap an arm around my shoulder, telling everyone, "Don't listen to him. He gets shy when he's in love." And the worst part? The world believed him. First, I hated it. Hated how easily he took control of the narrative, how he turned my career-saving accident into his personal playground. But then, there were the moments in between. The way he remembered I hated onions and picked them off my burger without asking. The way he called me babe so casually, as if the word had always belonged between us. The way he didn't seem to care about the online circus, about the judgment, about the whisper. She just existed beside me, steady and maddeningly warm. And that scared me more than the cameras ever did. The night everything shifted. It wasn't under neon lights or with a cheering crowd. It was in a quiet diner at 2 a.m., coffee gone cold, fries soggy, my nerves unraveling as I confessed, "I can't keep this up, Caleb. It's all fake." He looked at me for a long time, his hazel eyes softening in a way that made my throat tighten. Then he said, "Doesn't feel fake to me." And damn it, I wanted to believe him. That was the beginning of something I couldn't control. Something real hiding in the cracks of a lie. Something tender blooming under the weight of society's expectations. But when the tabloids started digging into Caleb's past, when they painted him as a nobody leeching off a rising star, when my agent whispered that I had to choose between my career and him, that was when I realized our story wasn't just some drunken mistake. It was a battle, and I wasn't sure if I was strong enough to fight it. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead, a cruel reminder that real life was not cinematic. There were no strings swelling, no dramatic fade-outs, just the smell of burnt coffee and a waitress who'd stopped pretending not to eavesdrop. Caleb's words lingered between us, thick and heavy. "Doesn't feel fake to me." I laughed, sharp and humorless, trying to deflect. "That's because you're insane." He only shrugged, dipping a fry in ketchup like he hadn't just detonated a bomb in the middle of my chest. "Maybe. Or maybe you're just scared of something real." Real. That word gnawed at me. I had spent my entire career chasing something real, authentic performances, believable characters, a chance to matter. Yet here I was, terrified of the one person who made me feel like I wasn't acting anymore. The weeks after the viral proposal were a blur. Interviews, auditions, late-night talk shows. I was suddenly the charming underdog who stumbled into love. Caleb was dragged into the circus too, willingly. Producers wanted us to appear together. Magazines wanted photo shoots of us holding hands under twinkle lights. And each time I tried to insist it wasn't real. Each time, Caleb tilted his head, kissed my cheek, and the world swooned. Privately, I snapped at him. "You're making it worse. People think we're—" "What?" he teased, lips curved into that infuriating grin. "Happy." "Yes," I hissed. "Happy, in love. Like this is some kind of fairy tale." His voice softened. "Maybe it could be." I hated how easily he could say that. Hated even more how desperately some part of me wanted to believe it. Then came the phone call from my agent. "Evan, listen," she said, voice crisp and businesslike. "The studio's considering you for a lead. A real lead. Not coffee cups, not background filler front and center. But they're worried." Worried. My pulse spiked. About the situation. The fake engagement. They want you marketable. Romantic lead for women, you know the drill. If you're attached to some guy the internet thinks you're in love with, it complicates the fantasy. My stomach sank. "So you're saying—" "I'm saying you need to distance yourself from him. Publicly. The studio doesn't want messy headlines. You cut ties now, and this role is practically yours." Should have been easy. Career versus chaos. Stability versus a stranger who kept calling me babe. But my chest ached like I'd swallowed glass. I told myself I'd do it that night. Cut him loose. Rip the Band-Aid. But when I found Caleb waiting outside my apartment, leaning casually against the railing like he belonged there, the words stuck in my throat. He greeted me with that damn smile. "Hey babe. Stop calling me that." My voice cracked. "Why? Afraid you'll start liking it?" God, I already did. We walked because I couldn't stand still. New York buzzed around Ashorn's blaring, subways rumbling below, the air thick with hot dog smoke and the faint tang of rain. Caleb matched my pace easily, too close, always too close. Finally, I blurted, "You don't even know me. None of this is real. I can't keep pretending." He stopped walking, just stopped, forcing me to turn back. His hazel eyes searched mine, not with anger, but with something far worse, patience. "I do know you," he said quietly. "I know you tap your thumb when you're nervous. I know you hate onions but love garlic bread. I know you pretend not to care about fame, but you light up every time someone recognizes you. And I know that when you smile, really smile, you look like you've been waiting your whole life for permission to breathe." My chest tightened. "That doesn't mean anything." "It means everything," he said, and I hated how much I wanted to believe him. But belief wasn't enough to silence the whispers. Tabloids tore into him. Who is Caleb? Mooching off viral fame? A nobody clinging to 15 minutes? Online forums dissected his life with surgical cruelty, dragging out old photos, mocking his job history. Some called him brave. Others called him pathetic. I watched it happen like a man chained to a burning building, and when my agent called again, "This is why you need to cut him off," I almost caved. Almost. Then came the night I saw him sitting alone on the fire escape outside my window, shoulders slumped in a way I'd never seen before. Caleb, the unshakable, the infuriatingly cheerful, staring at the city like it had betrayed him. Without thinking, I climbed out, sat beside him, the metal cold beneath us. "They're tearing you apart," I whispered. He shrugged, forcing a weak grin. "I've been called worse. Don't worry about me." "I do," I said before I could stop myself. His head turned slowly, eyes wide, as if I'd just confessed to murder. Then, softly, like testing the word on his tongue, he asked, "Do you mean that?" The silence between us stretched, fragile and dangerous. And for once I didn't act. I didn't pretend. "Yes," I breathed. The kiss should have been a mistake. It should have been the kind of thing I regretted instantly, shoved into a corner of memory and never revisited. But when his lips met mine gentle, hesitant, then sure I knew there would be no forgetting. It was the most terrifying, exhilarating truth of my life. I didn't want him to be a stranger anymore. But the world doesn't care about the truth. The studio delivered an ultimatum. Distance myself from Caleb publicly, or watch the role disappear. My agent was clear. You have to choose, career or him. I stared at my reflection in the mirror that night, makeup half-wiped, exhaustion carved into every line of my face. For years, I'd sacrificed everything for a chance to be seen, to matter. And now, just when it was within reach, I was expected to trade away the one thing that finally felt real. The choice should have been easy. So why did it feel like the hardest decision of my life? And that was how Act 1 ended, not with certainty, but with the raw ache of a man standing at the edge of a cliff, torn between the dream he'd chased his whole life and the unexpected love he'd stumbled into. I didn't know then what I would choose, but I knew one thing for certain: either way, the fall was going to hurt. The fall came sooner than I expected. 3 days after the studio's ultimatum, I found myself sitting across from Caleb in a coffee shop that smelled like cinnamon and regret. The place was half empty, the kind of quiet pocket in New York where people hid from themselves. I had rehearsed what I would say all night, lines sharper than knives, words that would cut us both free. But when I looked at him, at the easy way he drummed his fingers on the table and flashed a grin at the barista, every line dissolved. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. "Babe," he said, leaning forward, eyes warm, unaware of the storm I was carrying. "You're quiet. That's dangerous. Means you're plotting something." I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I clenched my fists under the table. "Caleb, we need to talk." He stilled, smile faltering. "That's never good. It's the studio, my agent. They want me to end this. Publicly." His jaw tightened. For the first time since I'd met him, his eyes cooled. "And what do you want?" That was the question I couldn't answer. My silence said enough. He stood, chair scraping against the tile like a scream. "You know, for someone who pretends not to care about fame, you're really good at letting it control you." "Caleb," no, his voice was steady, but the edges frayed. "I get it. You want your career. You want the spotlight. Fine, take it. But don't act like I'm the problem. Don't act like I'm the lie." He walked out, the bell above the door chiming as if mocking me. And for the first time since the proposal, the cameras didn't matter. The headlines didn't matter. All I felt was the hollow echo of his absence. The studio got what they wanted. A week later, I was officially announced as the lead in a romantic drama. The internet cheered, journalists called it my breakout moment, and my agent popped champagne like she'd won the lottery. But when the director asked me to read a love confession scene during rehearsals, my voice cracked. The words felt foreign, like trying to sing in a language I didn't understand. "You're supposed to be in love," the director snapped. I wanted to scream I am. Instead, I forced a smile, delivered the lines, and let them applaud a hollow performance. Meanwhile, Caleb disappeared from the public eye. No cheeky interviews, no playful tweets, no late-night diner runs. Just silence. I told myself it was for the best, that this was what we both needed. But late at night, scrolling through old photos, I found myself searching for his face in the crowd, replaying his voice in my head. "Guess you're stuck with me now, babe." God, I missed being stuck. The tabloids didn't let him rest, though. They feasted on his absence, spinning stories about him being bitter, heartbroken, unstable. One headline screamed, "Proposal hoax, lover spirals after breakup." I wanted to throw my phone across the room, wanted to defend him. But my agent's voice echoed in my head, "Distance yourself." So I stayed silent. And with every silence, I felt myself becoming the villain of my own story. The breaking point came at the premiere of my movie. Flashbulbs lit up the red carpet, fans screamed my name, and for the first time in my life, I was the center of the world. Yet all I could think of was the empty space beside me. Every time someone asked, "So who's the lucky lady?" I forced a laugh, dodged the question, and drowned in shame. Then, during the Q&A session, a reporter asked, Do you regret the proposal incident? The theater hushed, waiting. I had the chance to rewrite the narrative, to bury it once and for all. But instead, my chest tightened, and the truth clawed its way out. Yes, I said. The crowd murmured, satisfied until I continued. I regret not fighting for him. Gasps, flashes. The director's jaw dropped. My agent looked ready to faint. But I wasn't done. I don't care about rumors or roles or marketability. What I care about is that I lost someone who made me feel real. And if I could take it back, I would. I would choose him every damn time. The silence that followed was deafening. And in that silence, I realized the cliff I'd been standing on wasn't a place to fear. It was where I needed to leap. I didn't wait for the studio's reaction. Didn't care if I was fired, blacklisted, forgotten. That night, I ran through the rain-slick streets of New York, heart pounding, searching for the only person who mattered. I checked the diner, the coffee shop, even the fire escape outside my apartment. Nothing. Finally, desperate, I went to the one place I had never dared, his apartment. The hallway smelled like dust and old paint, the kind of building that never made it onto Instagram feeds. I knocked until my knuckles burned. The door creaked open, and there he was, Caleb. Hair tousled, wearing a threadbare t-shirt, eyes wary. "What are you doing here?" he asked flatly. "I screwed up," I blurted. "I chose wrong. I thought I could live without you, but I can't. I don't want fame if it means losing you. I don't want roles if it means pretending love is something other than this. I don't." He held up a hand. "Stop." The word cut, but I obeyed. He studied me, silence stretching. Then softly, "You hurt me, Evan." "I know." My voice cracked. "But I want to make it right. I don't care what the world thinks. I don't care if they laugh or tear us apart. All I care about is you. Please, let me try." For a heartbeat, I thought he'd slam the door. Thought I'd ruined everything beyond repair. But then his lips twitched, the faintest hint of a smile. "Still dramatic as hell, huh?" Relief flooded me so violently I almost collapsed. "So that's a yes?" Instead of answering, he stepped forward, closed the distance, and kissed me. And just like that, the world, its noise, its judgments, its flashing cameras disappeared. Yet even as his arms wrapped around me, I knew this wasn't the end. Loving Caleb in private was easy. Loving him in public, against a world that wanted us apart, that was the real battle waiting. But for the first time, I felt ready. Because this wasn't a proposal for show. This was a promise. The kiss at Caleb's doorway wasn't an ending. It was the spark that lit the fuse. Because the very next morning, the headlines erupted like wildfire. Actor Evan Hayes declares love for proposal stranger live on stage. Paparazzi swarmed his building. Agents left furious voicemails. And studio executives threatened lawsuits over breach of image. My career, which had risen overnight, was now hanging by a single fraying thread. But for the first time, I didn't feel afraid. Because Caleb was beside me. He made coffee while I sat on his worn-out couch, staring at my buzzing phone. He didn't push, didn't tease, just placed the mug in front of me and said, "So what's the plan, babe?" The plan. God, I had no idea. But when I looked at him, hair messy, smile lazy, acting like the world outside wasn't sharpening its knives, I realized something. I didn't need a plan. I just needed him. "I think," I said slowly, "the plan is to stop hiding. No more pretending." His grin widened. "About damn time." The storm came harder than I expected. Talk shows mocked me. Fans divided into camps, some praising me for honesty, others calling me selfish. The studio pulled the movie. My agent dropped me. And the dream I'd chased for years evaporated overnight. But when the dust settled, something unexpected happened. People started reaching out. Young actors, teenagers in small towns, men and women who whispered, "Thank you for saying it out loud. Thank you for being brave." And suddenly, losing my role didn't feel like failure. Felt like freedom. Of course, freedom didn't pay rent. I scrambled with odd jobs, commercials, off-Broadway auditions that barely covered groceries. Some nights I lay awake wondering if I'd ruined everything for nothing. But then Caleb would roll over, mumble babe against my shoulder, and the knot in my chest would loosen. Because no matter how heavy the world got, I wasn't carrying it alone anymore. Months passed. Slowly, painfully, opportunities began to return, not from the big studios, but from smaller, braver voices. Independent directors who wanted stories that mattered, who didn't care if their lead actor was straight or not. One day, a script landed in my lopadrama about two men falling in love despite everything against them. I almost laughed at the irony, almost said no. But Caleb nudged me. Sounds familiar, huh? Maybe this time you don't have to fake it. So I said yes. The film was shot on a shoestring budget, in borrowed apartments and rain-slick alleyways, but it was raw, honest, and heartbreakingly real. When it premiered at a small festival in Chicago, critics wept. Audiences stood. And for the first time in my career, I felt like I wasn't acting. I was living. On opening night, Caleb stood beside Menet as a prop, not as a scandal, but as my partner. When reporters asked, he didn't joke, didn't deflect. He simply said, "I love him. That's all there is." And no one could twist that truth. We walked the carpet together, hand in hand. Some cameras flashed with hostility, others with celebration. But as the lights dimmed and the first reel rolled, Caleb leaned close, whispered babe in my ear. And suddenly the chaos didn't matter. All that mattered was the man beside me, the journey we'd survived, and the life we were building, not in spite of the world, but defiantly within it. Years later, when people asked how it all started, I never mentioned the movies or the headlines. I never mentioned the role that almost cost me everything. I just smiled and said, it started with a fake proposal in Times Square, and the stranger who refused to let me go. Then I'd glance at Caleb, still grinning that same maddening grin, and he'd wink before calling me by the name that once embarrassed me, then saved me. Babe. And every time, I'd fall in love all over again. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.